So the Japanese authority system has a generational account, good deeds and bad deeds, and there is a certain karmic velocity that goes forward in time. The blessings of the Japanese people. The blessings of the Japanese people are inside of the destinical mind of the Japanese country. And that ghost, the higher self of the Japanese destiny, can use all the Japanese for a certain agenda and use their generational blessings to get something done on the earth. The Japanese honor energy entered me. I contacted the Japanese government today and I offered them to use the ability, prophetic and military foresight upon the Japanese destiny, the Japanese political cycle, the Japanese military cycle. And you that listen to these podcasts, here in the West there is no more generational blessing. So here I'm in the positive karmic velocity, but it's slow. And I explained the White House gave me the last breath before it's karmically defaulted. And so I became a little bit faster, but there is no more opportunity to get booster power, ladies and gentlemen, as I explained in the last podcast. So I was looking for who might be out there who still has booster power, and I thought maybe the Japanese people. I just knock, is the Japanese people interested in prophetic and military foresight? So yes, the spiritual mind of the Japanese destiny showed up in front of me, and it appears to me like a traditional warrior. If you would see photos of a traditional Japanese warrior, it takes the shape of that. And it is managing the Japanese destiny, and it speaks to the people of Japan through the emperor, which is then the signal, like the Japanese MK Ultra, the signal comes through the Japanese emperor. And for me to see the future of Japan, my karmic plus needs to be so positive that I can overwrite that negativity that is about to fall upon Japan. And of course I can't do that. So that's why I requested acquire the power of Japan, ladies and gentlemen. Because how else am I going to go through all these layers of intelligence? And I tell you the truth, it was quite simple. It was a process of 30 minutes. It was not so difficult as watching into the American future. It appears to me that the Japanese people still have a lot of generational blessings. It appears to me that the Japanese people have managed their birthright a little bit more wise than the people here in the West, because there's still power. There is still force in Japan. There is no more force here in the West. I made the prophetic foresight and the military foresight, and here are the results. This is the future of Japan. So there is a timeline where the Japanese emperor is assassinated. So I'm going to try to stop that timeline by telling you what it is, how it's going to happen. Okay? There is a timeline where a North Korean assassin enters Japan and does an assassination attempt upon the Japanese emperor. I saw that timeline, yes, in the future of Japan. So of course, when I start talking about the future, what's going to happen? I'm going to interfere with the timeline again. So that has a price, people of Japan. What I'm doing here has a price. I made that deal with that ghost, the higher self of Japanese destiny. There is someone among you who has the honor to be born for war. I took that honor. I took that birthright. That's the price. It's a high price, ladies and gentlemen. However, the information that I'm going to show you, people of Japan, and Parliament of Japan, and people all over the world who are interested in the destiny of Japan. So in the military cycle of Japan, there is a threat. Just like how in the United States, the biggest threat against the United States was Russia. That's not the case with Japan. The biggest threat against Japan is called China. And there is a special note. So North Korea hates Japan. So I'm watching to the future of the Japanese destiny, and there's this information that I'm seeing. Like, what is the threats against Japan? Well, the North Koreans hate the Japanese. I don't know how to explain this to you. The North Koreans hate the Japanese. It is serious. These people hate you over there. I don't know why. I'm not into the cultural aspect of this thing. I'm just seeing the future. And there is a tremendous amount of hatred coming out of North Korea for Japan. I don't know why. Maybe you know why. That's not my business. I'm just looking into the future. So I continued watching the political cycle of Japan, and I saw that the Japan and Japanese emperor are not cursed. There is no heavenly curse upon the Japanese destiny, which is a good thing. So the Japanese emperor, who is sitting on the double dragon throne of Japan, with this destinical mind that is empowering me with the power of Japan to see the future and speak about the future, the emperor of Japan in the parliament is fighting what is known as familiar spirits, dead bodies, and rival curse. So whoever sits on a throne, no matter where you are in the world, you have a certain velocity. You're going backwards, karmically backwards, or karmically forwards. So when you have crimes against heaven, when you have crimes in your blood, when your blood is dark and you get a curse, your karma slows down and you go in reverse and you start destroying yourself. You become misled and you go into self-destruct mode, and then your kingdom or your empire will fall. Alright? So the Japanese destiny is going forward, yes. There is no curse upon the Japanese destiny. However, there are issues in the Japanese bloodline that I'm going to address right now. Do you hear me? The power of Japan entered me. Okay? So you still have blessings. I don't know how much you have left. I don't know how much power this is. I don't know how long Japan can run on this power. Your dad and your granddad and your granddad's dad, they have done things and they created a karmic account, and that account has positive sides and negative sides. You have blessings and curses in the blood, good deeds and bad deeds. So there is still power behind the good deeds. That is like oil or fuel in the Japanese destiny, making it advance into the future. So when a problem shows up with the Japanese destiny, this generational blessing, the positive generational karma that is still in the Japanese destiny, managed by the Japanese spiritual higher self, the mind of Japan, upon the emperor of Japan, you will still find the solution to the problem as long as this energy is inside of your authority system. That means there is a natural hierarchy in Japan, and it's fixed. There's not much change going on because there's still blessings. So there come a point, people of Japan, I don't know how fast, but is Japan enlightened? Is there an enlightenment going on in Japan? Or is there a decay of morality going on in Japan? Japanese men and Japanese women, is there an increase or a decrease in morality? Is there an increase or a decrease in fairness and justice in the land? Is there an increase or a decrease in disrespect to the culture and the norms? So I'm kind of making a point using this Japanese version of MK Ultra, the power of Japan, speaking the words that can guide the destiny of Japan in a better direction. So at one point, the people who do as they please because of free will and their rights in the Japanese destiny, they will make the decisions, and sooner or later, this pot of gold that I'm using now to address you from your generational line will run dry. You're doing what you're doing because you can do it because the pot of gold, spiritual gold from your ancestors, protects you. There is a bubble of protection in Japan. And every word I speak costs you this bubble, because I'm using that golden pot of spiritual energy to address you, whereby it will run dry. And the more revelation I give you about the Japanese future, the quicker this pot will run dry. Okay? And everyone is using this. And at one point, sorry, it's over. And then Japan will enter where America and the West is now. The end of the choices, the start of the consequences, and the hierarchy system will start to change. And what will appear is called the end of the Japanese era. The Japanese culture knows what that is. And that's when the assassination attempts upon the Japanese emperor will start happening. That's when the North Korean army and the Chinese army will start appealing for Japan. Ladies and gentlemen, that's when the rival curse falls upon the throne of Japan. So when is China and North Korea start to attack Japan? That's going to happen when the generational blessings of Japan run dry. I'm using them right now, so it's still there, but how long, I don't know how much energy is left. But that, it is fixed. This point will come somewhere in the future. Unless some radical enlightenment starts, whereby the Japanese people start doing things, and they will create new generational blessings, whereby the pot of gold, spiritual gold, doesn't run dry, but becomes bigger, then this cycle will not come. But do you really believe that I will somehow reach all of Japan, and all of Japan is going to go like, okay, a prophet has spoken, we should do this, and everyone repent? I don't think so. I don't think so. Okay, you never know, but I don't think a time like that come into existence. So, if the timeline go on like how it is, before I'm interfering, it will run dry, and then come rival curse. And then the assassination attempt starts. And then the attacks of the North Koreans and the Chinese. But the Chinese are the bigger threat. But the North Koreans hate you more. When the generational blessings of Japan run out, not just these attacks will show up and these assassination attempts. No, there will be cursed bloodlines in Japan. And the cursed bloodlines of Japan, what they're doing is they're opposing the Japanese norms. And they treat the parliament and the emperor with disrespect. And the disrespect and the violation of the Japanese culture and the Japanese norms, these people that are cursed in Japan will do that. All they're doing is mirroring the rival curses at the Japanese throne. So, the disrespect to the parliament, the emperor, and the assassination attempts, and the Chinese and North Koreans' attacks upon Japan will stop when the rival curse is broken. And what happens then, when the Japanese emperor and the parliament overcome that, they will attack North Korea as it's God's plan of judgment upon the barbarians. They will attack Kim Jong-un. Alright? So, at the very end of the Japanese political and military cycle, if the Japanese imperial house purify all the bad karma, all of it, whatever is there, every single bit of it, an attack will start upon North Korea, and Japan will defeat North Korea. So, the problem in the throne of Japan, the familiar spirits and the dead bodies, need to be overcome. I will explain. Here in the West, people don't know what familiar spirits are. And people don't really are aware of what dead bodies are. So I don't think that the Japanese culture is compatible with the word familiar spirits. So I will speak Japanese. What's over there is called dark Hadu. So in the blood of the Japanese emperor is dark Hadu. And dead bodies. So sometimes somebody shows up and starts screaming something that is impolite, but it is the truth. And then maybe that person gets imprisoned because he didn't say the truth in a way that he said it in a way that might be perceived as disrespectful, but he spoke the truth. The ambassador of the truth being punished for speaking the truth in a manner that he to judge the tone and not the content of the message. Those type of crimes create dead bodies. When people that are innocent are punished by the judicial system of Japan. So why would you punish innocent people? You want to steal someone's wife. You want to get rid of someone. You want to clean some information up. You want to cover stuff up. So I don't know what the Japanese government is covering up or polishing away, or what the dead bodies are of Japan. But there is an account in the Japanese throne. It's called the dead body account. That needs to be purified. And the dark energy, the dark Hadu, the familiar spirits, I'm going to address you about now. So, you know what is right, but you're not doing it. Because you don't grant that person envy. You don't grant that person the victory because you envy. hatred, envy, vainglory, vanity, jealousy, hatred. You don't want to punish your son because it's your son, and your son doesn't need to be brought to justice because it's your son. You let yourself be ruled by your emotions and not by your sense of justice. You know what I mean? It is called dark energy. It's hatred. So, for example, in Japan there's a fixed religious hierarchy, and all of a sudden one man that does not belong to that fixed hierarchy, somehow the blessing of the mind of Japan fall upon that man, but you don't accept him. But every time what he do is correct, and you start attacking that person in hatred. Those deeds create dark hadu. Those deeds create familiar spirits in the authority bloodline. Those familiar spirits need to be overcome. That means the religiousness of the Japanese imperial house and the parliament need to be translated into enlightenment. It's like the self-control, discipline, no hypocrisy, no lying. Your word should be your word. Yes is yes, no is no. No manipulation, no gaslighting, not abuse authority. Those type of things need to be done to become enlightened. No vanities, no hatred. It has to be purified. And once you do that, once you go out there in the world and help people battle their whatever they're battling, the karma will come back and the familiar spirits will fall. And then all of Japan will be less plagued by these familiar spirits. And then all the dead bodies of Japan need to be fixed. And then all of a sudden those curses will no longer fall upon the Japanese house. And then the quest to purify the karma continues. And the Japanese house and the parliament need to continue doing those good deeds that got them this far. The Japanese know how to acquire positive karma because the mind of Japan has a lot of generational blessings left to release upon the world. So the Japanese acquired that. So Japan knows how to acquire positive karma. The more you need to acquire so much of it, and when you overcome all what I spoke, the invasion will start, the invasions will come, and then the purification process continue. And when you have overcome the rival curse, the assassination attempts will stop. The attacks upon Japan will stop, and the reverse will begin, and the Japanese house will start attacking North Korea as part of God's plan of judgment upon the barbarians. And all the disrespect will disappear, and nobody will violate the norms of Japan. And the Japanese government will increase in honor and legitimacy in front of the Japanese people. This is the future of Japan. This is what needs to be overcome to not be assassinated and not be attacked. And if Japan is already being attacked, this is what needs to be purified to stop the attack.